If today you had to re-edit a photo that you took 10 years ago, do you think the result would be the same? Today I want to revisit an old image, a photo that I took 10 years ago. The idea behind this is to reflect on how my creative process has evolved and how my style has changed over time. This image was taken back in 2014 in Encounter Beach, Cape Cod. I remember the time I was really happy with this shot, and I thought this was one of my best edits. The colors, the tones, I was really proud of it. Now, looking at this shot, I'm not sure that this is the best outcome for me, or the one that could better represent my creative process today. So let's see how, in 2024, I can re-edit this photo with a new perspective. By the way, if you are interested in seeing how I edited this image back then, I actually made a video about that a few years ago. Check it out. Back then, I was focused on boosting saturation, especially in the skies, and adding a lot of contrast. My goal was to make the image pop. But now my focus is on preserving the natural tones while enhancing the mood of the image. I feel I'm a little more minimalist these days. And as you can see, I think I'm pretty minimalist also when it comes to the way I organize my working space. So let me introduce you the sponsor of this video, the E7 Pro, a super flexible standing desk from FlexiSpot. 15 years warranty, a great height adjustment range, 440 pounds of weight capacity. This desk has definitely changed the way I work. Perfect for those long editing sessions where changing position is like changing perspective. Pretty useful for creatives like us who spends hours in perfecting every image. Alright, but now let's jump into my re-edit. As I said, my approach should be a little more refined these days. Let's see how it goes. And here we are in Lightroom. As you can see, this is the raw photo out of the camera. The image has a blue color cast because it was taken using a 10 stops neutral density filter. And at the time, 10 years ago, filters were not as good. So here the blue cast. Nevertheless, we can easily get rid of it, and we will see how. So let's start with the edit. On the basic panel, I can now fix the white balance. Let me use the white balance selector, find a target, neutral white, and here is the result. This could be a good starting point. I will now change the color profile, and I like to use Adobe Landscape. The image is quite dark, so I'm going to increase the exposure in order to move my histogram towards the right. Here we go. At the same time, I'm going to decrease the highlights. I'm not going to touch shadows, whites and blacks because I feel that the image is well balanced the way it is. What I will change though is my clarity. I might decrease the clarity a tiny bit, and I will do the same thing with the dehaze. The reason why is because I want to create kind of a glowy effect. And compared to the past, instead of working with the saturation, I will now work with the vibrance mainly. And I will increase it to plus 23. I think that this is all for the basic panel. And we can see how different this image is already. Something that I should have done before working with the basic panel is actually related to my composition. Let me open the crop and straighten tool. First of all, this is the original aspect of my Nikon camera. but I like to change it to a 16:9 aspect ratio because this is what you guys are going to see on a YouTube video. And with this new aspect ratio, I clearly need to do some adjustments. I am going to work with the rule of thirds, as you can see, and I'm placing the horizon right into my upper third part of my composition. I feel that the composition works well this way. Let me open the tone curve and add a little contrast. Now, opening the color mixer, I want to work with the hue, saturation, and luminance. And I will play now with the hue of the main colors of this image. I'm going to decrease the red a little bit, same as the orange and the yellow, nothing crazy, just a tiny bit. I'm not going to touch green, aqua, and blue, but I will increase slightly, plus 16, plus 10, 11, purple and magenta. Now let's open the saturation. Here I do want to bring up a little bit of blue, always subtle, and a little bit of aqua. Let's open the detail panel. I'm going to decrease the radius and increase the detail of my sharpening, which I will bring it to 40. At the same time, I want to make sure that only the boat will be sharpened, not the sky, not the water. By holding down the Option key and moving my masking slider to the right, this is what happens. And basically, whatever is white is going to be sharpened, and whatever is black will not be touched. Of course, I don't want to increase the noise of my photo, so 44 seems like a good option for me. I will now add a little bit of vignetting, and in the effects panel, -11 is the amount, and I will feather this to 84. As you can see, again, subtle, but it's there. And in the calibration panel, I might just add a little bit of blue. So now these were my general adjustments. Let me do some localized adjustments instead. Let me create a mask for the sky, something that was not available 10 years ago. It is much easier to mask the sky now. For the sky, I want to decrease the exposure a tiny bit, decrease the highlights, and I want to change the temperature a tiny bit. I will now duplicate and invert the mask. So I have a new mask that is actually touching the lower part of the image, where I will increase the shadows, but just a tiny bit. And I also like to decrease the clarity and further decrease the haze to enhance the effect of my long exposure. Now I want to add a new mask. This will be a radial gradient mask. And basically my goal here is to bring even more the attention towards the boat by making it a little brighter. So I will just increase the exposure a tiny bit. But here I will also increase the texture, the clarity, and the dehaze. My last mask will be a linear gradient mask, which I will bring it from the bottom. So as you see, the red part is what is going to be affected. I basically want to make it a little darker because, again, I want my viewer to go straight into the main subject, which is the boat. Let's close all the masks and have a better look at the photo. I like this image. I think that it's more subtle, it's more refined than what I did 10 years ago. But I think that the golden hour effect is too strong, it's too much. So I want to go back into my masks and let me pick the first mask, the sky mask. I want to change the temperature again and bring it to a -50. As you can see, I have a nicer hue and better definition of the sky, in my opinion. But of course, I need to now change also the temperature of the inverted mask. Otherwise, the temperature is not gonna match, and it feels weird. So let me change the temperature. Let me add some cooler tones also in the bottom part of my shot. This seems more balanced to me. This is the final picture. Let's see how this compares with my 10 years old edit. Quite a difference, isn't it? The image on the right is more realistic, still has a punch without being oversaturated and over contrasty. I think these colors, these tones, better represents who I am today. So here you have it, old versus new. It's pretty interesting to see how the creative process can change. The new version feels more balanced to me, more true to life. But it still has that punch that I wanted originally, just in a more controlled way. The takeaway here is that photography, like any other creative process, is in a continuous development. What seemed perfect years ago now looks like a starting point for something better. It's always fun to see how much progress we make as photographers. So I encourage you to revisit your old edits and see what would you do differently today. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tutorials. And if you are like me and you want to stay healthy while productive, I highly recommend checking out my new flexible standing desk. I left a link down in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.